So one time I'm at parent-teacher conferences, and this mom and her son, my student, walk in and sit down in front of me. And I shake the mom's hand and I say, "Hey, before we get going, I just want to tell you that I have loved having Thomas in my class. I love the way that he participates, and he's so kind to other students, and he's working really hard. Thomas is a great student. So just wanted to tell you that before we get going." And the mom's staring at me like this. I was like, "So, what would you like to talk about today?" And she goes, "His name is Colin." Ah, that's on me. That's on me. I was feeling like an idiot. I mean, I knew who this kid was. His name is Colin. I called him Colin a million times. It was November after all. But I sit here and I'm telling his mom all about Thomas. I mistaked him for another kid. And the mom, the rest of the time, there was no way to recover this. The rest of the conference, she was just sitting back like this, staring at me. And I apologized. I was like, "Oh, of course, I'm sorry, Colin. I got names mixed up, blah, 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 blah." And it just was unrecoverable. It was irredeemable. And I still get this pit in my stomach when I think about that, even though it's kind of funny. But I mean, here's the truth. It was parent-teacher conferences in November. This is a tough month to be a teacher. My brain was scrambled. A teacher's brain is usually just like this mushy mess this time of year. I mean, like the luster of August and September when we had all these new ideas and we had a new group of students, and it was like this clean, fresh slate to start over and try new things and bring new energy with us, is kind of running a little thin right now, right? Like it's starting to run out. You're running out of the energy to deal with classroom management issues. You're starting to just like the grading. You've got a stack of papers this high and you don't know how you're going to get through it all. You've had to deal with some really difficult stuff with students and call home to parents or have parents call you. You've maybe been observed a few times by your principal and it might not have gone perfect. Whatever it is, it's November. And you might be hitting this wall, what I like to call the November wall, and it's running you low on energy. And that's what was happening to me that time when I was at that parent conference, is I just wasn't thinking clearly, and I made a fool of myself. And I can laugh at it now, but I remember at the time just feeling like an idiot the rest of that night. But the truth is, it's because of November. The November wall is real. And so before anything else, if you are a teacher or any type of educator and you are feeling worn out right now, you are running on fumes, your energy is running thin here, just know you are not alone in this. You are not the only one who is running out of energy right now. It's teachers everywhere because it is difficult work, the work that you are doing. You know, there's so many complex issues that you've had to deal with the last 3 months. So many different types of effort you've had to put into different areas, from learning new teaching techniques and going to PD and working with your other coworkers and dealing with administrators and parents and then students, and then mix all that in with the fact that you've got the rest of your life going on. You've got your own families that you're working with and own struggles that you're dealing with. It's a lot. It is a lot, and November is kind of where it all seems to accumulate. I talk to a lot of different teachers, and I get this common sentiment through all of it that November is a difficult month in this profession. So I wanted to make this little video to give you some tips to get around that November wall, or just to smash through it so you can get to Thanksgiving break or to the holiday break in December, where you can breathe and refresh and recuperate and hopefully not think about school for a little bit, so that you can have a nice strong start to the second half of the school year. So here you go. Here's some tips to get through the November wall as a teacher. All right, one of the things that really weighs us down in November is the amount of things that we have to grade. I mean, like I said earlier, there's so many things going on. The last thing you really want to do is grade your students' work. And that's why a lot of us might have papers this tall, essays to grade, book reports to read, whatever it is, just piling up. And for me, at least, I know I've got a stack this big of essays I have to read right now, and I don't feel like it. And it just builds this anxiety that I carry along with me, knowing like, yeah, I've got all these things to do, but I do have to get to those papers at some point, and I don't like it. And so sometimes I try to just chip away at a few at a time, but then I deplore grading so much at times. Not always, but sometimes it's the last thing I want to do. And so chipping away at it doesn't seem to make that stack grow smaller. And so one thing that I've had to do is develop this discipline of setting aside dedicated time to grade. And that might mean a Saturday afternoon where you want to go do other things, but you've got this stack of papers, or you've got this the stack of tests, or whatever it is to grade, and it's just dedicating this 4-hour block, 3-hour block to do nothing but grade, to turn off your phone, maybe put on some music and just grade. And I know it's not the most fun thing in the world to do, and I know that's the last thing we want to do on the weekend, but I found for myself at least that when I do that and I dedicate this time to knocking out a ton of grading, it relieves this weight that I've been carrying, the stress of having this like pending doom of having to sit down and do the grading. So it's just creating time to just knock it out so that I can focus on the things that I need to worry about. You know what I mean? And get rid of some of the anxiety of the pending grading that's coming up. So that's tip 1, is just knock out the grading all at once. Tip 2 is make positive phone calls home. I can't stress this point enough, is that, at this time of year, there's so many behavioral issues that we're dealing with, and classroom management is becoming more and more difficult as students get a little bit more comfortable. I've found that when I make positive phone calls home to parents, and it might just be simple things like, hey, your daughter raised her hand and spoke for the first time this year, and it was awesome. Or, hey, your son turned in this book report, and I just couldn't believe that they read such a difficult book already. Love it. Please tell them that I'm proud of them. Whatever it is calling home with those positive affirmations feel really good as a teacher. Obviously, it feels good for parents. They love hearing that their kids are doing great things, and that usually makes its way to students. You often see a correlation between positive affirmation when you call parents and they pass it on to them, and their behavior at school. So there's those reasons, but it also just feels good as a teacher to call and let parents know that some success is happening at school. It makes you feel good. It helps you be reminded of why we're doing this work in the first place. So that's a simple thing that we can just build in every single day, 2 minutes a day, just to call a couple parents and let them know about positive things happening in school. That seems to really fill me up and gives me some energy and strength to make it through the rest of November. Speaking of finding positivity, another thing you should do is create a rainy day folder. This is a folder where you put all of those positive emails from parents, positive notes from students, whatever it is that is affirmation that you're doing your job and you're doing it well. Put it in a folder and have access to this folder when you need it. When you get that mean email from a parent, when you are just having one of those down days, when something is rough going on at home and you have to try to leave it at home and go into the classroom and present to students and be with them and be positive. It's so helpful to have a folder with all of those physical reminders about why we're doing this work. So that's tip number 3, is create a rainy day folder. Another tip I have this time of year is to try to do something new in the classroom. Maybe it's planning a project-based learning project where there's authentic outcomes and students are out of their seats working with their hands. There's something that the project is building to, some type of event or showcase or something that everybody is collectively working towards. This can help mix it up. It gets you excited about what students are working on. It helps them get some energy to be excited about what they're working on. And it just adds flavor to the school year at a time when we really need it. So try out project-based learning or some type of fun activity that's different from what you normally do. And that might inspire you to try it more later on, but it's especially helpful during a time of year where it's difficult to find energy. Another thing that I can't recommend enough is to find community where you work. Maybe there's a couple teachers who you really get along with. Spend extra time with them. Find time with them outside of school. Give some of your planning time to go and collaborating with other people. And this isn't just trying to find the people that you love to sit with at staff meetings. This is to find people to share the difficult parts of your job with, to talk about ideas that you have, maybe even working and combining classes and doing things together. I truly believe that people are communal. We want our students to learn to work together in community in a communal collaborative environment, and I think we need that ourselves. It picks us up, it releases endorphins, it gives us some of the boost that we need all the time, but especially right now when we're feeling a little isolated, when we're feeling down and tired. So I would recommend really trying to dive into community this time of year. And the last bit of advice that I have for you to make it through the month of November is to take a mental health day. You know, you have a couple, I hope you have a couple personal days throughout the year, and you need to use them. I know some schools have like rollover options, and you might get a little incentive at the end of the year to keep your personal days. My recommendation is to use it. You know, have a day off where you go shopping or go hiking or do nothing at all, but just enjoying time to yourself. We need that. We need these mental health breaks. I've found that when I take these days, and they're few and far between, but when I take a day to myself to recuperate, to treat myself, I'm able to return the next day to school with a newfound energy. And it's sometimes that extra boost of energy, that extra jolt that I was able to recuperate on that day that helps get me through the tough seasons of this work. So take a break, take a mental health day, call in sick or personal or whatever you want to call it. Take a break. So there you go. Those are some tips that I have. Here's the truth though. Teaching is difficult work. It's complex work. It's multifaceted. There's so many aspects of this job, and it's never completely easy. It never goes exactly how you want. It's very difficult to just hit cruise control and just enjoy the ride. But I do think if we take care of ourselves, if we do find ways to bring excitement and passion back into the work, that we can overcome it. One of my favorite quotes in the world is that a strong why will help us overcome any how. And so remind yourself why you're doing this work in the first place. Use a rainy day folder, check in with parents, give yourself some time off, and just keep doing what you're doing. Because the truth is if you are an educator of any kind, you are doing something very good for our society. Hopefully it's paying you off well, but just know that it's also paying off in the lives of your students, in the lives of in the life of your school, and then really in the overall health of our society. So thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for making it all the way till November. And I hope and pray that you can make it till Thanksgiving break.